Welcome back to Strange Darkness Radio. I'm Benson, your spectral guide, along with your host Bobby Washington and special co-host Kyla Jackson. Tonight we bring you part 2 of our exclusive interview with Olivia James, author of the provocative Grey Mouse series. In the first part of our conversation, Olivia shared some truly astonishing experiences that challenged our understanding of reality. If you haven't listened to part 1, I highly recommend you do so before continuing. But for those of you joining us now, we're about to dive even deeper into Olivia's extraordinary journey. In this segment, we'll explore the intricate connections between mind control programs, space exploration, and occult practices that Olivia has uncovered through her experiences and research. Prepare to have your perceptions challenged once again as we continue our conversation with Olivia James. Let's pick up where we left off.
Yes, there was a few different things. Like I said, one of them was corporate espionage. They wanted you to either steal information.
And is this still at a younger age, or are you older now?
Adult.
Okay.
I did that as an adult. You kind of had to be an adult for that, because I had to have like that adult mentality.
Mm-hmm.
They want you to be, either going somewhere, take something, change something, or put something in, like in a computer or something. A lot of it was computer stuff, taking something, a lot of intel work, kind of getting intelligence and seeing what people are doing. Because one of my alters has a photographic memory,
mm-hmm.
and my normal self doesn't, but an alter does. So all I have to do is be around someone, and that part of my brain is recording what they say. So if somebody wanted to get that information, all they had to do is put me in a trance or use hypnosis, and they could access that particular part without me really even knowing. So if I snapped out of it and it was my normal self, I won't know. A lot of times I won't know. I mean, I probably would know now based on all the work I've done and how I've, shifted myself into learning how to do all this. But at that time, I probably wouldn't know. And they use that though, because they feel like that's good for if you ever got caught and, and during an interrogation, you really don't know.
Yeah.
They would have to access that deeper part of your subconscious to get this information of what's going on. So it's perfect for interrogation.
So one of your alters never just tried to run, like, okay, screw this, I don't know what's happening, but I'm out. To me, it would seem hard for them to control an alter that doesn't even know what's going on, like weren't privy to what they were supposed to do, or anything like that, unless there was
there's codes and triggers to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do. There's codes and triggers.
Got it.
They can program you perfectly.
Oh, so your alters, they couldn't just come out and do, like, they couldn't just manifest themselves to try to get out of there. So they had to be like code activated, or were the codes just there to help suppress them?
Both.
Mm.
Both. Yeah, there's both. There's code. I mean, like, I had so many codes in my mind. I can't put it in the books because I don't want to trigger anybody else. But so many codes. So I've gotten so many codes that I just write down and keep all these different codes and phrases. And there's I even learned a code now to, if my alter comes over, I have a code that I can say, and she goes to sleep with it. It's so interesting. Like I said, the way they program us, it's so intricate and complex, and how they create these little pieces that can be, slavery. But and the back end though, they do program us, but if you don't do what they say, you're going to be killed.
Yeah.
So there's a double layer anyways, and if you're not going to be killed, then they'll kill somebody else. So there's always that you can't escape that, because either I'm doing it, or I'm going to be killed, or somebody else I know is going to be killed. So most people would do it.
Yeah.
It's not worth, and plus we were programmed since children. So and a lot of times it wasn't my original self doing it. So, even when I'm thinking and having these memories of doing something, if I did something wrong, it's almost like I'm so detached from it, because I'm like on the outside looking at, okay, that's me, but it's not me, I'm just looking at them doing this work. But I know on the inside, that wasn't something that we had chosen to do or wanted to do. It was something that was forced upon us,
Interesting. So I heard you talk about on one podcast about going to different heads of, whether they're heads of states, heads of industry, to do these particular, I don't know if they were demonic rituals or just rituals for occult practices, along with another
Hmm.
person to,
Yes.
yeah. Can you tell us about that?
So I was I probably want to say a young adult,
Okay.
and this was kind of like an offshoot of Project Traveler. Since they found out that I could do these, what I call that hosting ability, there was a company called Monarch Solutions, and they like I said, we were forced to work for them, and they would contract you out to different um what I call families, because they're considered probably like elites or whatever, kind of people that are well off, and you know they're considered elites or
Like the
whatever,
Rockefellers and different.
stuff like,
Okay.
families like that. I mean, I have the names of the families, I just don't put it
Yeah.
anywhere, I just know who they are. But
Got it.
so I would they would purchase, sometimes they would purchase a weekend. It's pretty expensive for them to do that. It's almost like from a catalog, and I know their attorney set it up for them. So I would go there, I would stay the weekend. They treated me really well. They would, make sure I had food, I had my own room, whatever I needed there. So it was like staying at a hotel. It was pretty nice.
Yeah.
But so they would have me and sometimes another gentleman or another lady, but it was mostly another guy,
Okay.
that had the same ability as me, and they would have us, pretty much just lay down and allow these entities to take over us, because what these people wanted to do, they wanted to meet their god. And this particular, I'm going to talk about one particular family. They were something like a cult of Bacchus, and they so Bacchus he's a very ancient god. He's somebody that people used to consider called Dionysus. He's the god of wine, but he
Okay.
doesn't like that. He said, I'm not a god. Bacchus says he's not a god of wine. He's the god of death. So he doesn't like being called the god of wine. So we were at this house, and what these people, this particular family had found this connection way back. I'm talking about 1500. So this particular connection to this daemon, and they call themselves daemons, not demons. So I say demon on, on shows, because that's what the term people usually use, but they actually say daemon. They say daemon. So they met this daemon, I think it was like 1536 or something. Way back, somebody had done rituals within their family line and found this connection to Bacchus. So it's almost like a generational ritual that they keep doing, and traditionally they have to keep this practice up, because they feel that's how they stay in power, is by having their connection to this, elder god. That's what, they call them, the elder gods. But Bacchus, he told me, he's like, it's total BS. He said they're only rich because they were born rich. He said they don't. He doesn't do anything special for them.
Yeah.
They just think that.
They think it because it's a ritual that's always been passed down, or something that they've done, or their relatives have done.
Yes. So when I let him take over my body this particular time, and it was really weird. They just wanted to have dinner with him and ask him questions. But when he was inside me, like I usually don't stand up, and this time I had to walk over to the dinner table, and I swear it felt like there was 100 pounds attached to each foot, because he doesn't come in a physical body very often, so he doesn't know. It was almost like trudging through huge piles of mud. It was really hard to get to the table.
Yeah.
But when I got to the table, they gave him dinner, and it's me, but it's him, and he ate like an animal. I thought that they thought it was going to be a different type of showing, because a god just came down, from wherever he's from, and he just ate like an animal, ripping and tearing at food. It was disgusting, he just was so happy to be like feeling that physical sensation. He was just going for it. He was eating everything, and they were asking him, questions about their business. And one woman was asking, about her husband, if he was cheating, and he felt very disrespected.
Mm-hmm.
So he was pretty ticked off of that. They were asking these ridiculous questions, and he was like, "You called a god down here to ask these questions. I'm not here for tricks. I'm not here for these tricks. That kind of thing." He was very upset. He doesn't like that. So, he feels like shunning them. He doesn't want them as his followers. But and this is particularly what they tell me. This is not my particular belief. I just had somebody that kind of snapped at me. Because they said that I'm, talking about this about myself. No, this is what they told me, the entities. They said that they're dying out, that they're a dying race. It's because they're losing so many followers because this time frame. They don't need, they have a different process. They don't need these gods anymore. We have other gods in place.
Yeah, no one's believing in them to.
Yes, the belief system in that is dying out. So they said that makes them die. That's how they die. They say you're witnessing the death of the gods. Without our followers, we're nothing. Without reverence, we're nothing. Without ritual, where are we?
Mm-hmm.
So he feels like he wants to find a new set of followers and he has a lot, but this particular family had been, loyal to him since the 1500s. So he was very upset at how they've been behaving, because they stopped doing so many rituals lately because they're going through a lawsuit and they don't have the money, because it's, can be pretty expensive to have somebody come, through the catalog and do this ability. Because you don't find people every day that know how to do this off the street, that can just be voluntarily possessed. You don't know they don't find that very often. And they're also, some of these families, they're also creating, what they consider like moon children of the moon.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes they'll have people come over and host these entities, and then they'll have like intercourse with them, because they feel that's, if there were to be some type of pregnancy from that's
so if you have a male partner that comes with you and he has relations with one of the guests that's a female, and they were able to get pregnant, that is actually a being from a god or from whatever that entity is, opposed to the person?
That's what they feel. That's what they think, that it's demonic bloodline. They feel like they're creating their own army of Antichrist by doing that, like the demonic bloodline. Because if you get that person pregnant, they call them moon children or children of the moon. That's what they call them. So they're trying that pretty regularly to try that.
Wow, that's interesting. So, and it's interesting also that you're actually able to recall, once the God takes over you, that you're able to, you have his memories, or the memory of what occurred or what took place. Is that correct?
Yeah, because when we do this hosting, he can see in my mind and I can see in his. It's like we're melding together. And I never feel like harmed by him. And actually, Bacchus considers himself my father. So I don't have any, I hate to say it, but I don't really have a lot of harsh feelings toward him.
Yeah.
There was even a time where I had a problem with the succubus for a while that was, bothering me. She's kind of like a lower level entity. And for some reason, she just had it out.
Why did she appear? Oh, she's just appeared because
it was somebody that I was dating, and she was obsessed with him, and she did not like that I was around him. So anytime I would try to do these hypnotic regressions, she saw it, she was ready, and she would come and follow me and try to, choke me astrally or make me stop breathing, things like that. But there was one time, she was trying this, and all I heard was like, it almost sounded like a herd of buffaloes or something running towards me, and it was Bacchus.
Yeah.
Kind of trying to push her away. Like it's so strange for this stuff to happen. Like, cause we're considering these like entities, even though he's known in a lot of different cultures as just like, one of their pantheon of gods, but he has that dark side too. And he says a lot of us, we're, considering, he talks about me, like saying I'm a walking duality myself, being that, shadow and light at the same time in one body, he calls me like the walking duality, as his daughter. He thinks that, and the reason why he says I'm his daughter is he thinks that he said this, that when my father conceived me, he had taken, hosted him himself, like he was in his body.
Yeah.
So he thinks that I'm part of his bloodline. And he was actually probably one of the first entities to reach out to me just in a normal day. And he would put his name in my mind over, and I had no idea who he was. I never even heard the word before. I never even heard the word Bacchus before he put it in my mind over and over. And I kept telling a friend, I keep hearing this word. It's Bacchus, Bacchus, Bacchus. I wonder what it means,
Yeah.
And I had to look it up and research, and I'm like, oh, that's who it was. And then I went and searched, to try to speak to him, like, to figure out, and ended up, being like 3 sessions long of, getting information from him. And he, he never treats me, in an evil way or anything like that, which, like I said, it's very conflicting to, grew up, a lot of us grew up in the church, and we had all this, learning, whatever. And I kind of let that go a while back, and I feel like I'm more spiritual, but it's still conflicting that these things, that something like this is protecting me.
Yeah, now you're talking about now you're very spiritual opposed to back then, right?
Well, I mean, like I said, when as a child, I grew up in religion, but I kind of let that go. But being a child, learning religion, we know that I felt like these things were all evil, and it was evil of me to even be associated with it. But in spirituality and learning what I have, like, it's conflicting for me to have them protect me from other people that are trying to harm me.
Yeah,
it's conflicting in my mind. But like Bacchus says, it's the duality of this world. Just like he said, I'm a walking duality. I'm like that shadow too. He said, so I'm similar to them in that way, that I have both inside me. And he said, it's just that, not that there's a lot of people like that. He said, it's just, I have been given the gift to express it and tell people about it, and not be afraid to talk about it, because nobody else, who in their right mind would say this kind of stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, just being honest.
Well,
who would be honest about
this? Without having a psychotic break or, being institutionalized and kind of on
really,
the mindset. Exactly. Then also the whole point of institutionalized, you don't have to be locked behind something to be trapped in your own mind or a repetitive downward spiral that never dissipates or never goes anyplace. And you're just in a loop, regardless of where you're at. And that happens to a lot of people, unfortunately, who are free to roam the planet. But yeah, it's amazing how you've stayed sane through this whole thing. And again, utilizing the abilities you have, but then always questioning whether or not something is real or not, or what you're thinking, who you're, what the thoughts are. Just that whole dance that happens.
I definitely want people to know that. Just know that I questioned it myself. It wasn't just like, oh, I know everything. I've got this. No, this was like I said, a 6-year process. I questioned everything. You think I didn't question this? This isn't normal. Like I said, I was a normal person. I thought I was a normal person because my memories had been wiped from me. I didn't know this, in my front personality, which I call my front personality is me, Olivia. So I didn't know this. So
are we actually talking to Olivia? That's the question.
Yes, it's just, this is the only person kind of left. It's my front personality. So I can speak about, I speak kind of truthfully about it. And I have had a lot of like pushback from a lot of people, even friends and things like that, because of the way I talk about these things. But if I don't stay authentic and true to the story, then what would my story be if I'm, not allowing it to be, authentic? I can't do it like that. I didn't feel like I could be, give the truth to people without giving the full truth, in the way I felt about it, and what was the real experience, instead of sugarcoating it to make people comfortable. I didn't think that was the way to bring truth to the world, and to my truth and my experience to the world, by sugarcoating it for people to make them comfortable. Yeah. But I do get a lot of pushback, and a lot of our community does, disclosure, because of what we're saying. And I understand, because there's a lot of fear built up in, a lot of these belief systems. And I was the same way. I want to tell people I was terrified too when it first started for me. I was scared too. I didn't know what this was.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't know I could do these things, and it's been a wild experience for me to know that any day, just think about it, any day, like tomorrow, I could go and have lunch, and then I could host a demon right after that, and then I'd be fine. I'd go back to my normal day and do laundry.
So do you still do that? Do you still host entities?
Yeah, I can do it anytime, any day.
That's interesting.
All I need, and I don't really, like I said, I don't need somebody to help me, but I do like somebody there as a witness. And sometimes if I go really deep, it's nice to have somebody kind of guide the conversation along, especially if there's a lot of different, because it's not just demons, it's, aliens, discarnates, spirits, different energies, animals even. I've talked to like dogs and horses. It's really interesting.
Is this for you? So you would do that for kind of like your own, I guess, like personal education purpose, or
I do for myself, and I do it also. I'm taking a risk for people, because I feel like everybody needs to know this. I feel like people need to be shaken up, because there's a revolution on the horizon, and I feel like we need to know what was going on. And if I don't do it, like, who's going to do it? So I feel like taking that risk, and I'm always looking to get new information. And I do something called, this is like something I do. It's called tucking to somebody's brain.
Mhm.
So when I'm under this like really deep trance, I can talk to different aspects of somebody. Like sometimes it'll be part of their personality, their higher self, their soul, their spirit. There's so many different aspects to a person, and you can talk to different parts of that person. So that's what I can do. Like if I were going to trance, I could talk to a different part of you. You're sitting here, on the radio, but I could talk to a different part of your brain and, get different information, like, just to see what was going on. It's really interesting to be able to
Can
do
you
that.
talk to my brain and tell it to chill on sugar? Because I'm
Chill on sugar.
doing the
Yeah, I
sugar.
probably
Trying to
could.
do a sugar,
Yeah.
trying to do a sugar cleanse, and so
Yeah,
I'm
I
trying
could
to get
probably
off,
try.
totally get off
But
sugar.
don't worry. If the doctor tell you something scary
Yeah,
enough,
that's a
you'll get
tough
off.
one.
Oh no, I don't know. It's like smoking. People smoke through the holes in their neck. I mean,
Shoot.
so.
But I'll try to learn that lesson. Now, I've always kind of figured, basically once something happens that's jarring enough to kind of force you to have an open mind and think a bit more on the possibility that, I don't know, like I said, like I used to tell people, if I can't say that something 100% is not true, then I'm not going to say it's not possible. Basically.
Yeah, and I didn't say anything for quite a few years. I was like, I needed like the whole picture in order to provide it to people. I needed it. That's why I keep doing it. And I have done a few sessions for other people. I mean, I don't do it very often, I've done it for a couple people. It came out amazing. Because it's like, when I do it for somebody, even though it's an amazing thing, everybody's going to question. And I rather they question it, but at the same time, it's just like, I don't know. It's so weird for them to literally be talking to something or a part of their past life and then just like, nah, I don't feel like, whatever. I'm like, no, I like doing it with somebody that has a really open mind. And that is like, because then we can take it far. If you're open to it, like I can reach the outer realms. There's something inside me that can just do this. I can reach the outer realms for people. If you want to know what was that far out, we can reach that place. I just did it not that long ago for a friend, and I went so far. I saw the gate to the outer realms, and there was like this being Leviathan trapped behind a gate. He was trapped, but he wasn't really. He was under lock and key, but something like that can't be really trapped. And that's why he thought it was funny that they thought that he was trapped. He was just, staying behind there because he liked the entertainment that they were providing him, and this whole theatrical thing they were doing by we've got a demon trapped back here. He thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask. I was going to say I have to be worried about what in the world would have Leviathan trapped behind anything.
He wasn't.
That would have been
I
something.
thought,
I'd have been
some people see Leviathan as like a snake or something. I didn't. When I saw him, he just looked like this giant blob, and he wasn't in water. He just looked like this giant blob with like arms everywhere. And that was just like, and like I said, these are just the forms they choose. Like even when I was a jinn, I tried to take a form, based on my energetic, push that I had, and it didn't come out very well. It was like it wasn't pleasing to the eye. And she says she doesn't like to come physical because she doesn't like the reaction she gets from people when she's physical. She's like, pretty much these demons think they're God. So even her, Harlequin, who was me, thought she was consider herself like a lower God, like a trickster God. So she's like, I'm a God. I don't want to see their face disgusted. When I show up, they should show reverence and, provide that to me, not just like disgust. She doesn't want to see that.
The entities and gods that are known, or are these entities that are just claiming to be the gods that everyone talks about, and they're just taking that form or that name just so they can trick the person, or because jinns are good at trickery and different things supposedly. So is that a possibility?
Jinns are, since I was one, it's a lot of manipulation, but it's manipulation for our end goal is to take over a person.
Yeah.
So, the ones that I've hosted, I know some are well known and some are not. Like the succubus, she had no name that I knew. So it wasn't like she was, and she didn't pretend to be a god. She just didn't like that I was around. So
Yeah,
it's
and that's
not
weird
always
about the
like that.
succubus really quick because you hear about succubus, you're like, "Oh, okay, no, she's going to love interacting and taking over you to interact with your boyfriend because that's what they do. That
Hmm.
they try to suck the life out of an individual for whatever their means are. Of the opposite
She can't
sex.
with me.
Oh,
She
okay.
can't with me because I'm like her.
Oh,
It's like that'd be like two demons battling.
oh, I see.
If I'm in a trance state, I can be that thing that
Hmm.
she and I showed it to her. If you want, do you want to see this? And if that's what you want. So
Oh, okay.
that's why she can't kind of like get to that point where she can do something like, and that's why none of them do get to that point. Like none of the
Mm.
entities get to that point where I'm taken over to the point where I can't control myself because I'm like them. And they even told me that they feel like I'm a kindred spirit,
Mm.
because I am one of them. We're a people. We consider, even the jinn, we consider ourselves a race of people, like a race of beings.
Yeah.
We don't consider ourselves just, singular. We're a race of beings. Like I said, my brothers are the jinn and we are forever. I remember saying that. Came out
Hmm.
of my own mouth. My brothers are the jinn and we are forever. I remember the exact statement. I remember the exact day I said it.
I would be terrified if someone
Somebody said that.
said that in my presence. I was like,
Man.
okay, I'm going to go this way. But
And
actually, no,
especially
I would
after
have.
hearing what I would think of what a jinn was, like
Oh,
from stories of jinn, there's only been one thing I ever heard that name brought up, and the jinn wasn't something negative. Also,
Yeah, people say that, and I feel that too. Like as a jinn, it's a duality. There's different sides of us. Like I said, she knew she had this role as this dark entity, but at the same time, she felt like she was helping people, and that she herself said she came from the same place, and what she was trying to say is she came from God. So, and so, you know what? The creepiest thing that I've ever heard is when I was talking to some of these demons through me. They say they worship God.
mm,
They say they worship our God. I'm not saying everybody has the same belief system and
yeah,
everybody
for
believes in
sure.
God, but when we're taught, I hosted Source once, and that Source, the big Source, they said that's where they're from and they worship that as well, which nobody would ever think that, that they have their own belief systems and they worship themselves.
I heard of I guess different things I've looked at before, and I've heard it's like a hierarchy situation that can exist on I'll say on a other plane where these different entities are. That
Yeah, and
there are like different hierarchies with several gods and different ones who would worship, even there are different entities that may even worship some of these other
mhm.
gods at the same time that we on this plane would worship some of these gods.
Yeah, it's really interesting to hear them speak about religion or their own spiritual beliefs, and they do. I hosted Lady Death, and this was not that long ago. And man, this was so amazing to hear her speak, and how, she talked about the duality within herself, and how that can be expressed in this world. And I just want people to know, I'm not just hosting demons all the time. I actually, the same day I hosted Lady Death, I also hosted Jesus and his mother Mary.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, you know what? I wanted to test myself because, I'm always talking about this and people think I'm just this evil person that can only host demons. And I'm like, no, that's not true.
That's a pretty serious
I can do
test.
other things. So so this is what's weird, is on the same day as I hosted demons, I hosted Jesus and Mary. And that was absolutely mind blowing.
Okay,
I
you
put it
have
all on
to
my second.
tell our listeners about you hosting Jesus, especially with the recall that you have for all these particular things.
Oh,
Because here's the thing: some people believe that
yes.
Jesus didn't walk the way the Bible says or the way the disciples say, based upon. I think the Bible was written like 40 years after all the disciples
Yeah.
passed. Supposedly, the disciples weren't even literate to be able to write and let alone recount certain things. And so it was like a game of telephone. And so there were more parables than actual, real stories.
Right.
So some say. So I'm
Yeah.
curious.
Yes, and my disclaimer is I'm not religious. I don't consider myself a Christian. So, and I
Hmm.
don't know why they choose to allow somebody like me to give their messages through. So I just have to. That's my disclaimer. I'm not sure why they choose me as a messenger. But when he came through, the energy was amazing. And,
Yeah.
honestly, when I host demons and Jesus, it felt the same. I can't pretend like one was dark and one was light. I didn't feel that. They felt on the same frequency almost. It was so creepy for that to happen. I'm like, they feel the same. I don't feel any difference, So when he came through, he did say, he was really no nonsense.
Okay.
He said, I don't mind that you guys think that I said all that stuff in the Bible. He said, I didn't say that, but it's fine for you to believe that. He said, it's fine. And he said, the day that he was up on the cross, he said the main reason he did that because he wanted to show the world what he could do. But in doing that, he said, I wanted to show all of you what you could do. He said, you can move past the limits of this body and the physical nature, into the spirit. He wanted to show that we could all do that. He said, because this isn't the real world. This is all illusions. You can move past that pain. And so that's what he said he was trying to accomplish when he went on the cross. And he said the arms didn't hurt, the wrists, the arms. He said the feet hurt because because that's what was putting all the weight on it. That was the most pain. But when he allowed me to see what he was saying that day on the cross, was beautiful. He was in no pain. He was almost what I would consider like an orgasmic feeling, because guess what? He's a dissociate. Yeah. He was able to dissociate and leave his body. He left the physical body there, and he put himself in this beautiful field where he was just relaxing and almost like watching the scene happen. His body was there, but he was able to dissociate. So that's very important to see somebody like that as a dissociate. We don't see that, how did he do that? We thought of it as something, other than that, miraculous, but it was an ability definitely. He had as a dissociate.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful to hear this message. And, what I really loved is so he came through, and then he brought Lucifer. He called him his brother.
Oh.
And, Lucifer, came and spoke about, he said that I know that what you guys think about me and that you think that I'm this monster. And he said, if you choose to see me as that, and you need a villain in your life, he said, I can be that for you. He said that I will sacrifice myself in order for you to have that experience, if that's what you want. He said, because I'll sacrifice myself just like my brother Jesus. I will do that for you. If you want me to sacrifice myself and be the monster in your life and the villain, he said, I'll do it. So it was amazing. And then Jesus and Lucifer held hands and led me in a prayer. They led me in the hypnotherapist in a prayer. It was amazing. It was. And then what I really loved is when his mother came through. And now she was something otherworldly. I swear she was. It's hard to imagine sitting somewhere and speaking to this energy that was
Mary Magdalene, correct?
Mother Mary. I call her Mother Mary.
Okay.
So she came, and she looked really young. I met her in a garden, and she looked really young, and she took like her veil off. She said it was too hot. And she said, she's like, why doesn't anybody ever call on me? She said, you all objectify me, because she thinks that people think of her as just like the statue type, they worship that. She's like, nobody calls on me like they do my son. She's like, I'm here for everyone.
Wow.
And she's like, do you know what I did? And I was like, trying to listen. She's like, I birthed an entire era. She said, I didn't just birth a child. She said, I birthed the Christian era. Do you know how huge that is for somebody to birth something that big? She said, we don't just birth children. She said, we birth tornadoes. We birth, gusts, hurricanes. She's like, I birthed the world. I birthed an era for you. Look how big that is. You should show me some, respect and call on me. If you need me, I can be there for you.
Yeah.
She said, there was a lot of amazing things she said about, just the darkness in the world in general and how she viewed it, and that the way we were thinking of what evil was. And she said, I slapped Jesus, when he was a child, and my evil, she's like, I'm not a dark person, but I hurt him, I hurt the Son of God. And what do you guys think about that? And I didn't have an answer for that. I said, I don't think anything about it. She said, I did that.
I think she's the mother of God.
And she said, she was amazing that she was allowing us to hear her and a lot of her human voice and she said, I'm going to let you hear me in my human voice from when I was alive. And she said, I still have a lot of resentment towards those people that put my child up on the cross. She said, even though I know that he said he volunteered for it, it still, it hurt her to see see him that way. And she said that day she could barely walk. She had to be carried around because it was so painful. But she
Wow.
said she knew when she birthed him that he was meant for greatness and he was meant to love the world. She said he wasn't meant for me. So I had to let that part go. I had to let him go and do what he came here to do. And she said that she said she gave birth as a regular person. It wasn't a virgin birth, that she got married, and the marriage was set up by her family, and one of her, family members called Jesse set that up for her.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's so amazing. Yeah, that's in my second book. The whole history and
that's what I was gonna say, because basically it's like ringing up. Let me ring up the Queen of England, or I mean, like, do you find yourself at awe?
Yes, that day I did.
Okay, yeah, that's incredible.
I don't want to be disrespectful to the demons, but it was just, what I was more amazed at is that they chose me.
Mm-hmm.
I was amazed that they chose me
because
to
they
do
have
this.
to want to come through for you to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can't force anybody. No.
Yeah.
They see me, and a lot of the entities said that it's like there's this huge darkness, and when I start to go in trance, they see this like light shining in the blackness, and then they know it's me, and then they start, coming towards me. Like as soon as, sometimes even if I just know I'm gonna go under trance that day, it'll be like an hour before, I can feel just like everything around me. I can feel like there's just people waiting to speak.
Mm-hmm.
I have that feeling already, like an hour before I even do it. I could just be sitting down watching TV and I could feel people around, like, thinking it's their turn to speak. And it was just like amazing to feel that they chose me. I was like in awe that they would allow that, and they would, and it was such a different message than what I was used to hearing, from Christianity, and I understand that it's a different perspective. I get that. And, I understand that, and that people might think it's heretical or whatever, but I can't lie and say that they didn't say those things. They did.
Yeah.
I have it all recorded and everything, which is, I wish I could make it public, just for the simple fact that I wish people could hear, a different interpretation of what happened, and, things like that. But also, like, what I also let source energy host through me.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the one time that my body, I couldn't control my body, like when I allowed it to happen. Because
now what is that? What is the, having source energy?
That's what people consider God.
Oh, okay.
So, and I don't know why God chose me, because, I'm not a Christian. I don't know why he's like, that's the person. I don't know.
But so
why.
when you say God, based upon, we talked about all the other deities, you're talking about God, as
God with
from the
G.
Christian. Okay. Got it.
God with the big G. Yeah. And like I said, I don't particularly believe in I'm spiritual. So I believe in like a source energy. That's why I call it that, because sometimes I call it a no name.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what some of the spirits taught me to say. They said, call it no name. Like just that.
Because
that
it's
energy
truly,
that no one can describe.
Yeah. Other than people like yourself who are able to channel and talk to these daemons, entities, whatever they are, we truly don't know what the creator of the universe is truly called at the end of the day. Know. Because I think I have a feeling if that name was actually spoken, if it's in a language, it would probably, open something or, uncreate something. Something would occur, Yeah.
And so Source said that, he said it was a really simple message. He said, I am ultimate, but I'm also minute. He said, I am very large, but I'm small too. And he said, we always look to the grander things in life to see the image of the divine. But he said it can most be found in those small things, like a kiss or a hug or saying, I love you. He said, if you really want to see Source, tell someone you love them.
Interesting.
It was very simple. And to me, I'm like, that reminds me of something that I would think that a source, instead of being intricate and complex, it would be just simple. Like, if you want to see me, and he kind of discussed, I only say he because I don't know what else to say, no name, but he said that we were talking about demons and transmuting and things. And he's like, he said, transmute with love and you will know me. That's what he said. It's talking about these dark entities. He said, transmute them with love and you will know me. That's how to know God, is to offer a different, perspective to them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what God told me
and
said through me.
That's interesting. I would think that whether it's the gods, different deities, would be so pissed from technology because technology has taken away from them. Because again, at the end of the day, it's governments that created, the 40-hour work week, the go, focus on getting a Tesla or your cell phone and all these new technologies and modern things that we have, which we love, that are incredible, that help us vastly, but they take away from why we were really truly put on the planet. And that's to, toil the earth, obviously feed yourself and your family, but also, praise whomever or which deity throughout the day because, and not, focus so much on self and so much on materialistic things. So I do find that they're allowing man to maintain this facade of this created reality that's truly not real. Not that it's not real, but it's something that we created to shield ourselves from what really is, about life.
What's really going on?
Yeah, because you literally work yourself to death, literally throughout the years and through the ages, just to get a piece of some materialistic thing, exactly, to die, and so on and so forth. And so, I can see why the powers that be put in place with people who believe in reincarnation, which I do, and people believe that you've been here before, because you would literally, you know what, I don't like it, I'm out, let me start over, and so on and so forth. And so we need to, you can't have people just committing suicide on a regular basis, and hopefully I didn't trigger anyone. But yeah, it's, I don't think we're put on this planet to, to gather and collect materialistic things, opposed to not doing the things that we, should be doing while we're here in this time, whether it's, the work on yourself, the work with loved ones, and the work with what you actually put into the earth, the planet, and yourself. So I just find that interesting in all these conversations that you've had, that they didn't say, you know what, I'm starting Sodom and Gomorrah. I'm starting over. Like I'm wiping all this out. You guys don't get it, and now you're on this path of materialism. So let me take that away from you, and see if you can survive.
Yeah, they never say that.
They probably wouldn't have to. I mean, you see how a lot of the people now are already kind of screwing themselves, so they probably don't have to turn around and just erase anything. People kind of putting themselves in that position. I say that but here's the thing, the rub with that, they're not being worshipped, so they're fading away. And the more people that are in the belief of spirituality, it just empowers them, to manifest. And because people wonder why, like, dang, you know what? It's so, because here's the thing about any religion, or even what you're saying and things that you've been through, right? To me, I'm going to take it on faith, belief, and your honesty as you're speaking and talking, right? Well, religion is based upon faith, meaning you have to believe to go to heaven, and so on and so forth, as far as, the Holy Bible and so on and so forth. But back in the day, you were seeing miracles. You were seeing Jesus walk. You were seeing him rise, make people arise from the dead. You were seeing him walk on water. You were seeing all these miracles happen. And anyone who sees a miracle is going to say, I'm going with that guy. Like he, again, you had some of the people like, nah, I don't believe that, that was a trick, or this was that. But when you can truly see something with your own eyes, because that is how humans are. Yes, there are times that we have a feeling about something or someone, and that we just able to tap in on a whole spiritual level with something or someone. And but when you see something, when you see the skies open up, when you say you see the Red Sea part, and all this not,
you don't need faith. Faith has been wiped out because faith is like, okay, I can see this is happening, so I'm going with this guy. Opposed to I'm sitting here dying and babies are dying and starving on this side.
Mm-hmm.
So faith is not required, or I wouldn't say wasn't required, because again, this wasn't happening in every place. But you've heard the works, you've heard all these things that spread throughout the land about all these particular things. But now you don't see any of that. Now it's, and if you do, you're going to question it as a trick, or you're going to say, because I always said, if any, like yourself, if someone is challenging someone, or someone comes to them and says, hey, this is the word of God, and here's the New Testament, or here's what you guys should know, no one's going to believe them. No one's going to believe the person on the corner with the John 3:16 poster, and he's telling you God is coming back, and he's reciting something. You're going to be like, no, he's crazy, and it's going to be left at that. And so I just find it interesting that is at some point that all of this is just going to stop, or is it going to be, no, let them fail on their own with their own devices, be it nuclear war or whatever, plague.
Well, Lucifer gave me this really amazing message. He said, you're the expert here. He said, you be the witness and make this your testimony. And that's what he told me. That's what he told me I needed to do. He said, you're the expert here. You be the witness. Make this your testimony.
Okay.
So, and also my father, now that I said he's passed, he told me that his main thing he said, burn it down. He said, burn the system down. He said, go out there and tell everybody what they did and what they made us do. And I have to stay true to that. If your father told you something before, when he passed and said to do that, I have to do that.
Yeah.
That's what he wanted me to do, to make sure everybody knew this information and knows that there's so many things happening behind the scenes that we're not aware of, or that we don't want to see because it's scary.
Yeah.
A lot of people just don't want to see it, and that they're afraid. And I understand that fear. I totally do. I understand that, because I used to be afraid too. But at some point, we're going to have to, rise. Just like I had the Arcturians tell me, they say, rise to the occasion. They said, you don't need anybody else. You don't need anybody. You guys have everything you need to rise to the occasion. And they said, why do you act like you haven't done anything? You've done everything. The whole world and the whole universe is waiting for you to make this shift. And it's going to be an energetic universal shift that we're contributing to. Everything we're doing now, even just talking here today, is making a huge change in the world. Just by having this discussion and putting it out to the world, that other people aren't going to be able to hear this. This is really important for people to see this different perspective that we're providing to them, that they probably won't hear anywhere else. And the Arcturians say that, pretty much we're a lot stronger than we think. And they say, why do you stay so small when you're as vast as the universe inside you? We're putting ourselves down. We're keeping ourselves small. They said that you have to think about the perspective, and that everything is perspective. What do you think is real? That's perception. What do you think's not real? That's perception. And they said that we see everything with eyes, and they said that's not the right way. You need to start seeing with something else, and that's your heart. So they always want us to get back to that heart center.
Yeah.
So because it's true though, we're seeing everything with our vision. Yes, Arcturians are just a race of aliens. That's what they said. But it's a very spiritual race in terms of how I interact with them. They, similar to what Lucifer or like even Source would say. You see everything with eyes, see with something else, your heart. That was imprinted in me when they said that. Like, I can't forget that. I can't. That's not something I just forget.
Yeah, that's incredible, and we haven't even gotten into the whole Mars.
I know we have so much.
I mean, there is,
yeah, we didn't even get a chance to get to that part. There's so much.
I definitely got to have you back on, and
yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah, this, like I said, you're incredible, and with the full team, for sure. Just the knowledge and the wherewithal that you have, and that's why. See, that's also why. And again, you've been everything, I guess, in all your past lives, man, a woman, and stuff, things like that.
Yeah.
But it's just there's something that is in the woman that just has that light and that power that you guys are able to handle, these things that are given to you. And I think that's incredible. And
Yeah,
it should
thank you.
not go unnoticed for sure. Because I would have cracked. I would have I would have called it a day, not said anything, tried to just
Yes.
shut everything out. And so
I've had those days.
yeah. Oh no, and that's totally understandable. That's totally understandable.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I thank you for what you do, and your book. Like I said, your book is incredible. I suggest everybody go and get your book. It's Olivia James, Gray Mouse, and you now. Is there two versions of that with the?
No, actually, there's two books. I just
Okay.
released my second book not that long ago, a few months back. The first one is called Gray Mouse, Sex, Space, and Mind Control, and that's really a lot of the origin and where I started. And my new book is called Gray Mouse Purgatory,
Okay.
and that I really wanted to put a lot of information in there about the different, beings that I was hosting, and it's a lot of information from them. And actually there's a lot of information about handlers and the government in there, so it's really interesting. I'm working on my third book now
Oh,
with more new
nice.
information.
Oh yeah. Hopefully you'll have some of your channeling or your that stuff in there. That's incredible. I mean,
A
I
lot.
mean,
The whole situation, the whole conversation with Jesus and Lucifer and Mary is in that book, the
wow.
second book. And I'd love people to read it and see what they think about it. Good or bad, the feedback,
Yes.
just to know that people are, reaching for something else, a different, just a different idea, a different perspective.
I was going to say, yeah, it'd be a good chance to. I mean, at the very least, if you don't learn something, it gives you another perspective or a talking point.
Oh, for sure.
Yes.
I mean,
But
that's
you
kind
will
of
learn something. That's
yeah. I was going to say, like,
Yes.
it's honestly. I mean, I don't like me personally when it comes to faith, and well, I mean, grew up Christian, been in a Christian church, and it's just yeah. I mean, part of my faith is just trying to. I mean, I'm going to try to learn something. I
Yeah.
mean, that's kind of where it comes down to is you never know when you might learn something.
Yep.
And
Open your mind, people.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't think that we were put on the earth to be closed-minded. I
Oh,
mean, and me
exactly.
personally,
Yeah,
I don't think
true.
God would want that. Like that's, I mean, I've had that discussion with a couple of people in the church where I was like, when I tell people to this day, like one of the things I always wanted to do is, inevitably when you get to that side and I can finally have that discussion, I want to hear the whole story. Like just, I usually tell them, I mean, yeah, we have all eternity at that point. Why would I not want to at least hear something? I mean, we're going to be there a while. So it's like, yeah, I would have learned it all. Like, go ahead and tell me it.
Yep, me too.
Yeah, exactly. And yes, we didn't get into the sex and the space because Mars, that's a whole another thing.
Yeah,
And
definitely. I'd love to be back if you ever want to have me back on and we can discuss more.
Yes.
Space and time.
Yes, because the whole sex thing, I definitely want to get into because I know, again, people out there, we normally would never do a Diddy episode, and we actually are going to do a Diddy episode only because I know Diddy and have had dealings with him based upon, as you guys know out there, my son is CJ Washington, music career, has been on The Voice, MTV, P. Diddy Star Maker, so it was one of P. Diddy's shows. And so you will hear an episode about that and get my take on him and my interactions with him. And because I do believe that from a cult aspect that sex is used for power, and like
It is.
yeah, Olivia was talking about with entities, presenting themselves in these particular situations, and that whether movie mogul, music mogul, all these corporations use various techniques and things to get and hold on to power, and they do it through sex. And so, Olivia, thank you for being on Strange Darkness Radio.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Oh yeah, it was an incredible talk, and I cannot wait to have you back on. And I think that's it for tonight. How did you feel?
Yeah, thank you.
Oh yeah,
thank you. I'm gonna ask Kyler. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was actually pretty good. Yeah, I mean, especially for a first time, definitely get to come on.
Now
here.
you have to go back and even listen to the episode to really understand what was all taking place, because your eyes were really wide open there for a while.
Oh,
But,
yeah. I definitely, I mean, well, like I said, it's like in my own thought process of going through different things. And, again, you hear, pieces of, like she kind of mentioned a separate plane for a second. And that's also, some of the things I've also, looked into and tried to kind of learn about myself. So, yeah, well, it was definitely, like I said, it ends up being a learning experience.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You'll definitely hear things that'll make you think. And, it kind of makes you start to think, okay, well, even if, true or not, it's, again, you heard something interesting at the very least, or it could be something worth looking into.
Oh, yes. It's definitely worth looking into. And the thing about Olivia, you would have to be a genius to be able
That's what I say, too. That's what I say.
To be able to recite, remember, and just all the things and stuff. You would have so many books like, I am curious. I'm doing a Carolyn right now. Carolyn usually, we try to get off the air and then she keeps going. I am doing a Carolyn. Sorry, Carolyn, to say that. But have you ever done auto writing with these particular beings that, so no auto writing. Interesting.
Mm-mm. I would love to try it, but I've never tried it. Yeah, I've never done it.
Okay. Wanted to ask that. Alrighty, well, we are out for tonight. Thank you guys very much for listening.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
And there you have it, folks. We've come to the end of our two-part interview with Olivia James, author of Grey Mouse Sex, Space and Mind Control and Grey Mouse Purgatory. I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to Olivia for sharing her incredible story with us. Her bravery in coming forward with these experiences is truly commendable. Olivia's journey has taken us to the fringes of human experience, challenging our notions of reality and consciousness. Whether you find her accounts believable or not, there's no denying the impact of her story and the questions it raises about the nature of our world and the potential for hidden truths. For those intrigued by what you've heard, I encourage you to check out Olivia's books. They offer an even deeper dive into her experiences and insights. Remember, the truth is often stranger than fiction, and sometimes the darkness holds the key to enlightenment. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the unknown.